All right, team, I want to welcome you guys to yet another episode of FDL Presents the Zach Rushlow podcast. And today's episode is with an amazing friend of mine named Valentina. You guys might know her as Val on Instagram. She's the youngest IFBB bikini pro in Canada at 19 years old. And she has gone on this amazing journey learning about herself and constantly asking herself the question, how can I be better? How can I be better? And how can I challenge myself to be better on a daily basis? And not only be better, like physique-wise to step on stage, but be better in life. Like the things that truly matter. And at such a young age, she's 22 years old, she's well-traveled, and she is so wise. And I'm so excited for you guys to listen to this interview, and it's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to take a lot of value from this. But before we begin, please leave a 5-star review on iTunes. It helps us so much. You guys have been killing it. It's been helping so much, and we're ranking higher and higher on the charts. Please leave a comment below if you're listening on YouTube. Let us know who we need to interview next. We always make it happen. And lastly, I want to thank all of our sponsors, One Bars, Enlighten, and Protein Cookie Company. Let's get into the interview. All right, thank you guys for tuning in to yet another episode of FDL Presents the Zach Rushlow podcast. And I have one of my good friends on the podcast today, and we've been trying to figure this out for the longest time to make this happen. But I want to welcome Valentina onto the podcast today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Zach. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So me and Val saw each other last at the Arnold, I think a week ago now, or somewhere around there.
No, it's been like 2 weeks.
Oh, time is time is just all over the place. But it was the first time I'd seen Val, and I mean, it was a pretty long time because you went on some adventures around the world, and some would call it a soul-seeking adventure and kind of challenging a lot of the beliefs that you had. And it was just really cool for me to watch because I saw Val challenge so many different things that people had known her for, and kind of going on this journey and doing this big 180. And it was just I admire that because we're in a world where people kind of hold on to what people think of them as, and to be vulnerable like that and to challenge all of that and not worry about anybody but yourself, and worry about, hey, if I can control what's coming in and how I feel about myself, I can help more people by what I'm actually able to put out in the long run. So I just want to start the podcast first and foremost by saying, I admire you, Val. I say nothing but great things about you all the time. So I'm excited for everybody to hear your story.
Thank you. You're so kind. I appreciate that a lot.
Absolutely. So this would have been a lot easier of a question to ask before your journeys that you went on. And I think I could have guessed it before, but now it's a little bit different. So I like to start the podcast with everybody. We treat our Instagrams, they're like our portfolios. They're like our resumes now. And so most people, when, hey, what do you do? Go check out my Instagram page. And that's pretty much it. And so that's how we kind of background check people. So if somebody has never heard of Valentina before, they don't know anything about you, and they stumbled upon your Instagram page, what would they think? What would they take away from your page? And they'd be like, okay, this is what Valentina is about.
I think they would just see someone who's trying to make the most out of their life and trying to find happiness in every single moment and every single day, because that's really what I do and what I try to put out on my Instagram, that I'm not just one thing, that I'm many things, and all those things bring so much joy and happiness to my life. So that's kind of like what I push people to do as well. It's like, you're not just one thing. You're so much more than a gym or like maybe a yoga teacher or a foodie. You know, we have so many sides to us, and I really want to encourage people to try to find those sides and get to know themselves through that. That's
so cool. Like that, I was super curious on where you were going to go, but that was a really, really, really good answer, because that's exactly what I've seen you do. It's just really trying to figure out yourself and become the best version of yourself, not becoming pigeonholed in one area, but constantly evolving and becoming better and better on what you're being pulled to. Because if we don't act on what we're being pulled to, then we always have that moment of like, well, what if I didn't, because I didn't do it. We don't regret the things we did. We regret the things we didn't do.
Exactly.
And So I think it would be cool to take everybody on an adventure of young Valentina. So kind of in like 3 to 5 minutes, talk about like where you were born, what your childhood looked like, if you played sports, if anything like that, what your background was, and then kind of talk about your evolution into where everybody knew you for, but then now where things have gone. So I'm going to let you just talk for about 3 to 5 minutes, and I'll chime in here and there
Yeah.
if need be, but I know you're a very good storyteller, so this will be very
How
great.
much? I feel like I get talking and then I get lost and I'm like, wait, where was I? But
I
I'll try
got you.
my
I'll keep you on track. I'll keep you on track.
Okay, so I was born in Colombia and I lived there until I was 10 years old. I did live in Costa Rica as well during that time. So during my time in Colombia, I talked about this on my Instagram a couple of days ago, or not on my Instagram, my blog, that during my time in Colombia and in Costa Rica and in Canada, because I moved to Canada when I was 10, I went to like 13 different schools. I was constantly bouncing back and forth. My mom, she just liked to explore the world. You can see where I get it from. So I definitely had a kind of like a, I guess, different childhood because I was never in one place. I was never around the same people, never around the same teachers and all of that, or my family for that matter. So it was definitely, I guess, a little bit hard to say that I don't know, I had one place in like ground when I was a child, just because I was so back and forth all the time. But if there's anything I remember, it's just always being happy, always being surrounded by amazing people, and no matter where I went, I don't know, I always felt very blessed and very loved. So that's really good. Then when I was 10, I moved to Canada, and even when I was in Canada, I still moved around a lot. I think I lived in like 4 or 5 different cities when I was
Wow,
in
that's
Canada. Still
crazy.
with, yeah, yeah. Like I don't know what it is about me, but I guess I've always liked to move around a little bit. But no, when I was in Canada, I did middle school there and high school. So moving from Colombia to Canada was definitely a huge change in
What
my life.
what what part of Canada?
It was British Columbia first, and then Alberta.
Okay.
Yeah, so the really cold parts. But yeah, so I moved there, and the transition was really different. It was a little bit of a culture shock, coming from a country where people live very modestly. Well, my family did. I didn't really come from like a super rich family or anything. To a world where everything was kind of like advanced. People care a lot more about their looks and how people perceive them and all of that. So I guess I was going into my teen years as well, so maybe that's what changed my perception in terms of how people perceived me. I started caring more about how people saw me and all of that, and from there on, I don't know. I definitely can say that I changed a lot from my time in Colombia to my time in Canada because I was just in that age where I was, going from like 10-year-old to, my teen years and all of that. So that's kind of where I started caring more about how I looked and how people perceived me, my weight, what kind of, I don't know, what kind of things I was joining in terms of what kind of people I was surrounding myself with. So um, I didn't play any sports. You asked about that, but I didn't really play any
No,
sports when I was in. No, I did volleyball when I was in middle school, but it wasn't like super consistent. It was just kind of like a.
Well, you have an athletic build, so
Oh, thank
it's
you.
always cool to kind of hear about if anybody played any sports growing up because it's usually pretty diverse. Like some did, some didn't. Like I grew up playing every sport known to man, so like there was
No way.
every single sport I could possibly
That's
play. I
amazing.
played like and played at a high level, and but some people are different. And I was just curious because I interviewed Brooke Ince the other day, and she has like a very extensive sports background. And people like say, oh, she's on steroids, she's on this, she's on that. I'm like, no, she's been training since she was like 3 or 4 years old all the
Yeah.
time to be where she's at, and now she's genetically elite because her life
Right.
has just been revolved around being strong, like no matter what she
Definitely.
was doing. So
Yeah.
it's super fascinating. So you went through high school, and one thing that I see a lot is, yeah, we are our surroundings. Like we kind of shape ourselves to the world we are around the most,
Mm.
and that could be people, that could be environment, that can be everything. It's because like we're trying to survive.
Exactly.
It's a weird survival mechanism.
That's it. We just want to feel like we fit in.
Yeah, we want to fit in. It's just like if we're out in the jungle and we're trying to survive from lions and tigers and we're trying to fit in or not die. So we get
Exactly.
really good at staying away from those like things that could put us down or take us out.
Definitely.
And so with you and the way we are in society, this could get really, really deep because the way we are in society, in order to fit in, we have to look a certain way
Hmm.
or we're constantly looking for a tribe that makes us feel like we're trying to be normal. I don't think a lot of
Yeah.
us are trying to be outliers. We end up, if we are our true selves, might end up being that way. But we want people around us that make us feel like we're not weird
Yeah.
or
I
anything
think we
like
just want
that.
to feel connected more than anything. Like
Hmm.
at the end of the day, I always say, I'm like, we all come from the same place. And I think that's why we all seek that connection because we just want to feel like we are the same as the other person because we are.
Yeah.
But we think that means physically looking the same.
Yeah.
So I think once people kind of dig a little bit deeper and realize that, feeling connected with someone else doesn't really have to mean that you have to look the same way or think the same. It just means that you have to accept one another and love each
Hmm.
other unconditionally, no matter what we look like, how we think, what our beliefs are, etc.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
starts with that human. Like, there's one thing we can never take away, and me and you are going to see some weird things, and everybody listening, we're all going to see some weird things in the coming years. Like, the world's going to get really, really odd. Some of the technology that's coming out, and the way people are able to manipulate their lives, and the virtual reality to where you can put on goggles and then become in a world that you could have always dreamed of, and it's going to get real weird. It's going to get really weird. But the one thing that we're not going to be able to ever take away is that human element, like the in-person human element. And no matter
Mm-hmm.
how weird VR gets and no matter how real it looks, I just don't think we're ever going to be able to truly take that away and that feeling of real human connection. So,
Exactly.
but yeah, we went on a little bit of tangent, but it's these are the kind of conversations that me and Val have, and this is like
Yeah.
I really enjoy it because it's
I
like
like talking. I'm so
it,
bad at telling stories. Like I can tell you a story if you ask me questions, but like if you just ask me to tell you a story, I'll literally like give you such an abstract answer of like this. But
was
then
good.
when we get
Okay, so
okay.
I'll lead you to the next point. So you're in high school, and to preface this, guys, Valentina, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You were the youngest pro. Was it physique or bikini?
Bikini, IFBB Bikini Pro,
Yep, in history of Canada, right?
Canada. Yeah,
Good. And you were 19?
that's
So
right.
so through high school, when did you start training and when did that become a goal for you?
Okay, so I started training when I was 16, but I wasn't training. I was just exercising. I just wanted to lose weight, feel a little bit more comfortable in my body because during high school, I can definitely say I wasn't influenced by the best people. They're amazing people, they were just being children, and I was right in there with them, just partying and living my life. But it definitely got to a point where I felt like I wasn't really going anywhere, and I wanted something to kind of strive towards and something that was going to better me. So that's what got me into the gym and just wanting to improve my body, improve my health, and just take matters into my own hands. So I just started exercising, and then after achieving my goal, I lost like 30 pounds in 3 months, super fast and way too fast, way too fast. That's what happens when you have ignorance and you go low carb. But um, after that, I kind of felt like I wanted to keep moving forward and just kind of find something else to keep driving me forward. So that's when competing came into play. And I saw girls on Instagram doing it, and I thought it looked like a blast. I've always loved like being up on some type of runway when I was younger. I used to do like modeling and things like that. So I was like, hey, I can kind of implement fitness with this. And I've said this on other podcasts. I wanted to be a beauty pageant queen. So I was like, I can do fitness and the beauty pageant thing. So that's what got me into competing pretty much.
And so
And
was
I
it your
wouldn't say
first show that you won or was it many? Okay. Oh, well, when was your first show?
I was 17 and I
Okay.
got 10th out of like 30 some girls, which was really good, but I definitely did not look ready to be up on stage.
Yeah.
I'm so skinny, but I was really young, so it's okay. It's good.
Well, good. So fast forward, how many competitions and then you got your pro card when you were 19?
It was because in Canada you have to do a regional show, then provincial show, then national show, and at the national show they hand out like two pro cards. So I did, I think 4 shows before I went pro. It
Okay.
was like 2013, 2014, and then 2015 I got my pro card, or 2016, something like
Yeah.
that.
Well,
Yeah.
that's really, really cool. So you got your pro card, and then I think right around then I mean, you were still growing a pretty big, substantial tribe, people that were following you. And what did you notice that over time, like, I think, I mean, what we put out is what we attract. And
Mhm.
so I believe that you attract a lot of girls that wanted to compete and wanted to model themselves after you. And how did you feel at that time, like building your tribe? And then if you could kind of segue into, well, maybe this isn't the way I want to do it. And maybe there is something that I want to change. And like, was there ever that itch that you wanted to change, like right after you stepped off stage? Or what point did it was like, I don't know if this is the right thing?
I think it was after my last show that I did. It was October 2016, I believe. That was like my last pro show, and something just felt off. Like you said, I did feel like I wasn't inspiring people the way that I wanted to, because the feedback that I got on Instagram was just people like admiring a body, just my body,
Yeah.
and just a lot of girls being like, "Oh, I want to look like you. I want to look like this," and like I just constantly told them like, "This is not normal. This is not normal." And even though I preach this so much on my social media, because I've always tried to be really transparent and like show that there's a lot more to life than just like one thing. But obviously, when you're competing, you're so focused on that. That's all I was really showing on my social media. People were still like just saying that they wanted to achieve that, even if it wasn't for competing. And like when you get competition ready, it's an extreme that you go to. It's a lot that you put your body through, and it's not permanent. But people that
Mm-mm.
are just coming on social media, they don't realize this because they're just scrolling through, or maybe they just started following me. They haven't seen the other posts where I'm like, I look like an alien because I'm supposed to. This is normal, but it's not normal for all year round.
You
It's
look
just
like an alien.
literally. I'm like, it's the 12-week period, and I might look okay on stage because the other girls look like this too. But off stage, I did not look okay. I look sick, and probably because my body is a little bit sick. So, that's kind of like where it hit me, and I think I just became more conscious of how I was feeling, and what kind of feedback I was getting, and what kind of image I was putting out to the world. And I just realized that, like, even though I loved it and that made me really happy for the time being, it wasn't the kind of way that I wanted to touch people in the long run and during my time here in this world. So that's why I've kind of transitioned into a complete different.
I mean, it's been really, really cool to see, and it's something that I've noticed as well with myself. It's once you realize your purpose is so much bigger than how you look, everything changes. I believe, so this is for me, I believe the physical aspect is giving people what they want before you give them what they need.
Yeah.
So in a world of social, we're very visual. So you see, my content is very visual. I have to give people what they want in the sense of like something that looks really good before I can give them what they need in the sense of them actually making it and be like, whoa, these are the ingredients that you're actually using. So I have to
Been
use
there
the
before.
platform. Huh?
Said been there before.
You have
With your
to.
gun. I know.
Yeah.
It's so worth it. It's so worth
Yeah.
it.
Yes, I mean it's cool because now I have a tribe of people that now I get messages on a daily basis saying, "Hey Zach, you've inspired me to live my best self. You've inspired me to put more good vibes in the world. You've helped me understand that I'm not alone. You've helped me change my perspective with the world. I don't hear food that much anymore.
Hmm.
Like I don't, which is
That's
cool. They're like, yeah,
amazing.
I came for the food, but like I've stayed because of your vibes and how you've helped
Because
me
of
change my
you.
perspective." Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was always my biggest thing is like I got to make this bigger than food. And like I believe that's exactly what you saw as well because it's
Hmm.
got to be more than just, oh wow, Valentina looked amazing on stage and she
Yeah.
inspired me to look amazing on stage. Like that's not life. Like that's not
Exactly.
life. And
Exactly.
I believe that you were craving, well, Valentina changed my life in the sense of she helped me love myself more and helped me to challenge myself to be a better person on a daily basis, to always ask myself the questions, the right questions, and then having the courage to actually take action and answer those. And it's really, really been a cool evolution. So you got off stage in 2016. How long afterwards until you really were like, I'm going to make some drastic changes? Because I know, and when you signed with Alpha Elite, which is Christian Guzman's company, his clothing brand, I believe there was kind of like you were kind of in that little in between period. And it was like, oh, Valentina, youngest, because I watched the video, I made sure, and to understand exactly the language that he was using. But it was more talking about like your your following, but then also you on stage and all these different things, you competing. And um, how was that? I know that had to been like kind of a I don't know how to explain it. It's, you
It
know what I'm
was.
saying. Yeah, it's kind of
Actually,
like,
like, I'm sure anyone that maybe follows me and watched the video was like, she looks a little bit off, because even though he was asking these questions, I was taking them so much deeper, because
yeah,
I wasn't fighting who I am, and I was just giving answers the way that I think now, because now I no longer see a table, I see the process that went into the table. And it's the exact same thing with that. It's just like I just try to put a lot more meaning into everything that I see and understand
perspective,
this. Exactly.
perspective. Hmm.
Exactly. So yeah, when he was asking me those questions, I was like, hmm.
I remember watching it. I'm like, yes, kick. I'm like, you're killing it, Val. You're killing it. It's so cool though, because like it's hard because Christian attracts an audience that doesn't want to listen to the deeper meaning. So, for
Mhm.
example, I was on, me and Chris Elkins were on a live together the other day. He asked me to come on his. And like, I started talking about like some deep stuff. And his followers were like, the people on there, like, what is he talking about? Why is he talking about this stuff? I'm like, wow. I'm like, Chris, man, your audience are a bunch of young children. Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, that kind of sucks. Like,
Yeah. But
but
he
I
has
mean,
planted many seeds.
yeah, I tried, man. I started talking about like we talked about like I was like talking about Chris and his marriage and his kids. I'm like, how cool is that? And like they're all like, what is he talking about? Like, can we talk about like how to build muscle and like eat food? I'm like, oh God. I'm like, Chris, I gotta go, man. It
This
was
is
just
not
like,
my
man.
time.
But it's if and that's one of my goals in life is to help people at a younger age understand that they are in control and the real things that are truly significant that they need to focus on and not focus on
Exactly.
all the things that society says that matter. And I don't
Exactly.
know if anybody really knows, but you're still young. How old are you, Valentina?
22. I'm not that young, okay? We
She's a
getting
little baby. She's a little baby. So, if you were listening and you didn't know that, that's a bit surprising because most people at 22 years old do not have the obviously the lifelong journey that you've already had, but the perspective. So, you get done with your show in 2016. When do you start figuring out you want to travel the world?
Well, that didn't really come until September last year, and
Okay.
that was after I had made my move to Florida, which to answer your question, you asked me when I kind of started making this transition and kind of figured out that I wanted to, when I was itching for this change. And it was pretty much at the end of 2016, after I had finished my entire competition season. I was prepping that entire year. So my mind was fully deep into the competing world, and I could just feel that I was kind of losing myself in it a little bit. So, that year I decided that 2017, I was like, oh, I'm not going to compete. I'm just going to take this year off, kind of focus on myself, try to find spirituality, because that was really what I was craving. Even though I didn't really know what that meant, for some reason I did want that. And like some part of me that just, we always have that intuition and that, I, I don't even know what you would call it, like that eternal wisdom, I guess, something that we can tap into if we just really get to know ourselves. And I guess that part of me was craving for that spirituality and that connection with something much deeper. So, that's when I started changing kind of the way that I was taking on every single day, implementing more of a self routine, focusing on like my thoughts, what kind of um, uh, language I guess I was using with myself, what kind of conversations I was having with myself in my mind, and that's kind of where I kind of I guess transitioned and started changing and kind of figured out what I truthfully found important and brought happiness to my life. And I guess eventually I started wanting to travel a little bit more. But yeah, it was just it's so hard like trying to like put it all into a bubble because it all happened in such a long amount of time, but kind of how it went.
No, that's cool. And that's one challenge I want to give to everybody listening is think of every day as a new page in your book. Like every single day you're narrating your own story. So if I'm walking down the street and if you just write in the book, Zach was walking down the street, that's pretty boring. But if you say Zach was walking down the street, the birds were chirping, the sun was shining, and he looked up to his left and he saw a bird on the sign, and he realized that, wow, this world is a beautiful place. And I mean, that's a lot different. And if we just understand that every single day when we look around at everything that's around us, like it's really cool.
Yeah, we give
And
it meaning. That's it. Like, just look at it and reflect on it and find the beauty in it because everything has so much beauty in it. And that's what makes life and so exciting and so beautiful. But some people don't see that, and it's just crazy.
it is crazy. So where exactly did you go? So where were all the places that you visited?
I went to Iceland, Denmark, Singapore, India, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, and to wrap it all up, Colombia.
That's crazy. And how long were you gone for?
Like 6 months, I think. I started traveling September 20th and got back to Florida on March 1st. So
Wow, that's so insane. I just can't even imagine. So when you're traveling like that, do you crave, like when you got home, did you crave like routine? Like some type of routine?
so
Like
much,
it would drive
so
me,
much.
I don't know how you did it. Like it would just drive me insane. I love routine.
Yeah, no, and I tried to have my routine, and I did in the morning. It was always meditation, yoga, reading, and journaling. Well, meditation, yoga was always a thing. Reading and journaling, it just depended on the time, but that was the only routine that I had. And another thing that I struggled with traveling is that a lot of the times it depends on kind of traveling you were doing, but like for me, it was very random. Like I didn't have anything planned. It was just get up and go pretty much. Like the one time when I was going to Vietnam, I didn't get my visa like I should have, and I forgot about Laos. I went to Laos, but that day I was supposed to go to Vietnam and I didn't get a visa, so I couldn't fly that day. So I had to just randomly pick a country and go, and that's where Laos came in. So
Wow.
when you're traveling like that, it's kind of very selfish traveling, which is okay. You know, like if you just want to spend time by yourself, if you want to just see the world and experience new things, that's fine. But by the end, I felt like it wasn't as purposeful as I wanted it to be, and I felt like I wasn't really serving in the way that I wanted to because that's what I crave is service. I want to make sure that every day I'm doing something to help others. And even though I was still like interacting with other people or like, buying things from families to help them out or, giving them money or buying them food if they needed to, it wasn't the kind of service that I wanted to take part in. So that's kind of the thing that I craved the most during my time away, is that I felt like I wasn't serving in as much as I wanted to, or like being productive on I guess maybe like my social media, in the sense of like, okay, how am I serving my social media today, just because I was so focused on like being present and enjoying the traveling time that I had. So
And that's a
back to
super interesting perspective in the sense of like I see it as an investment in what you can give now. Because you
definitely.
took that 6 months to like kind of recharge and to take in so much wisdom and change the way you see the world. So now, whenever you see every single day, you see it a lot differently than when you did before.
Exactly. No, it definitely widened my perspective and I learned so much, and that's why I'm so excited to like be back home and be back in a routine. And I had planned to move to Bali and continue traveling for a bit, but after much reflection and just like being in one place for a little while and being back in, I guess, comfort, because I have like all my things here that I had when I left, and it just feels like I'm back into like my place. I feel like I'm just excited to be in one place and share what I have and just see what I can offer and how I can serve.
Absolutely. So, What's next on the agenda for Valentina in the sense of like I believe in you as a servant leader. You're somebody who wants to lead people to give their best self to serve others. What is next on the agenda to help service that? Like what do you have planned that you want to further that with?
So I want to begin by completely transitioning my coaching because as of right now, I'm still doing very fitness-based coaching. And while I still want to do that, I want to transition into more of a holistic approach and focus more on the mind, soul, and body approach. Just make sure that people aren't just focusing on one thing and realizing that to be healthy, you have to be healthy mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. So I want to start doing that with my coaching and also make it more affordable as well, just because I feel like as of right now, my coaching just isn't really affordable to everyone. And I want to make sure that everyone can get a piece of what I have to offer because, it's not about the money. Even though I need it to survive and eat, I don't really need that much. I've learned that from traveling. So I just want to be able to serve people through that by teaching them what I've learned in more of a mind, body, and soul approach. And aside from that, I also want to start doing some yoga teaching on YouTube. So free as well. Anyone can come and join. And I want to add that spiritual touch because I know a lot of yoga is very physical. So what made me fall in love with yoga was the spiritual part. So I want to teach people in a sense where they're connecting with something much deeper than just their physicality or that stretch. And lastly, I want to keep focusing on myself because I feel like the more that I can learn about myself, the more I can help other people. The deeper I know myself, the deeper I can connect with others. So that's kind of where I'm at with everything right now.
Absolutely. That's really cool. I mean, it's a way of serving your tribe. And have you noticed since you've changed your kind of direction, the kind of people that are attracted to you have definitely changed?
100%. The DMs have completely changed. It's no longer about, oh, I want to get on stage. I want to look like you. It's so much deeper. I get the most meaningful messages and people that really take time to write to me and people that I guess really connect with my message. So that's definitely changed a lot. And, my Instagram comments as well, they're not so physical anymore. And even though I think I still get a lot of physical comments, I think that has to do a lot with what I'm still putting out because I still do put out the physical content because as you know, like you said, social media is very visual. So if we want to reel the people in, we still gotta give them some of that. So here and there, I still
you gotta give it to them.
but eventually, I think it's still kind of a habit for me and just me being comfortable with what I know. But I'm going to change that and I'm gonna stop trying to focus so much on my physicality because I think it's still something that I struggle with because, it's what I've known for my entire life. But every single day I'm telling myself, you're so much more than that. You have a lot more to offer. And just because it gets less engagement, it doesn't mean that you have to put out that kind of content. So that's something that I'm definitely still trying to transition in. But the more that I do it, the more that I get the kind of people that I really want to attract. So
Yeah, it's going deeper rather than wider. Like
exactly.
it's understanding that you really don't need hundreds of thousands of followers. You truly only need like 1,000 true fans, maybe. And so you putting out the right message is gonna create like that funnel of real people that really, really love you and they want to get to know you. And
Exactly.
that's what social media is all about, is just building a deeper connection that we never had before social. Like
Yeah.
me and you would have never been friends. We would have
I
never have known
know.
each other. Look what
Could
we're
have never
doing right
eaten
now. This is
donut ice cream sandwiches together.
that's so funny.
You
That was
would
a good
throw
time.
that clip.
I know, right? Throw that in there. But it's amazing what we can do in a year. It's
Yes.
amazing how much we can evolve in the way we see the world. And just don't be in a rush, guys. Don't be in a rush, because the moment you're in a rush is the moment you try and go too fast, and then that creates regret
And you
and
forget
not
about the
understand.
intention and the purpose and all of that. So it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Yeah, our lives are so long. Like it's so long, and yes, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know, but the one thing
If you
we
can
do
enjoy
know,
today and do something that makes you happy today, then that's all that matters.
it's all, and we won't get to today is today. It's never going to happen again. And once we have that, I think we all forget that today is never going to happen again. And if we wake up I know it's like it freaking
Like,
kicks
I gotta get off this desk and go travel.
it's wild, but we know that we have so many more days ahead of us, and just know the perspective of, okay, this day's not going to happen, I mean, ever again. So like, think of the people you love in your life, think of everything that truly matters, and stop worrying about all the BS out there that really doesn't matter whatsoever. So think that we won't have today ever again, but then think of how much time you use and waste on things that don't truly matter to you.
Exactly.
And just like Valentina said, we all don't need a certain amount of money. Our money needs to match the ambition that we have with our lives. So for example, with FDL, I'm going to be employing a lot of people to where I'm not going to personally be making a lot of money, but we have to make enough money to be able to support other people. So we have a team of 5 that I support right now. So we have to make a certain amount of money to be able to do that. And money is a tool. It gets us in the door, and it gives us an opportunity to do more good in this world. So I believe that everybody listening to this podcast spends money on things that don't matter. They don't. And thus they have to do things in order to make money, to spend money on things that don't matter. So one thing you take away from this is really think of the things that you're spending your money on, and do they really matter? And if you're not working a job, or if you have something that's not leaving you fulfilled, then stop spending your money on the things that don't matter, and then figure out a way to save that money to where you don't have to work that job anymore, and you can live a fulfilled life. And that's what scares me so much, because we get in that rat race, and we buy a nice car, we buy a house, but then we work a job just so we can sleep in that house and drive that car back and forth to work. Like, how many hours in your life do you really spend actually living? And like, you have been a testament to that.
Money that you make, but you don't, because it's all invested in material things. So
yep. Correct. That's why, like, I want to, and one of the big things I'm doing right now is I'm funding my own foundation right now. So one thing
that's the power of money, and like, that's why it's such a good thing, but we just have to understand that and really know how to use it. Like, it's just energy. It really is. You know, it goes out, it comes back in, it just flows. But people don't know that flow. They don't have that abundance mindset, and they feel like they either have to keep it to themselves or just waste it on material things. So
I know it all comes down to like insecurities. Like, you don't need these physical things. Like, you just need to be sure of yourself and have the tough conversations with yourself, and really understand what really makes you happy. So that's really, that's a nutshell of me and Val's, like that's our relationship. Like, we were at the Arnold, like, trying to have like deep conversations, and then like everybody's like walking around us. We're like, hey guys, like, stop. Like, and people are like coming over. We're like in our own world.
I was like, there's women dancing in front of me, and like cheerleaders.
Oh my gosh. Like, oh, that's a whole nother.
But I was just like, I can't do it right now. My mind is just not in the right place.
I know, it's so hard. And those girls were so sweet too. And they were just like, I remember so for example, everybody listening to the podcast, we were at the P Science booth, which is both of our sponsor. And right across was, I think ProSups was the company, and they had their girls promoting their products on stage, dancing around pretty much half naked. And which is so sad for me and Val to see, because those girls are sweet girls, and they're having to promote a company that uses physical attributes to get people to buy their supplements. Rather than making supplements that are truly world-class, that speak for themselves, you have to use women in order to attract them to buy your supplements. And that made me sad, because I ended up talking to a few of those girls that were on stage. And they actually like came up to me. They were like, oh, we follow you on Instagram. Can we take a picture? And I'm like, wow, this is karma. I was like, this is really karma right now. And so they came up to me, and we took a picture and everything. And then we talked for a while, and I asked them, I was like, how does it make you feel? Like, I was like, please don't take this the wrong way, but I just have to know. I did. And it was the best. I was so happy I did. because we went so much deeper and they respected the hell out of me for it. But I asked them, I said, how does it make you feel? I'm like, first off, I was like, you two are both very beautiful girls, and I could tell that you handle yourself well and you have so many great attributes to give to the world. And how does it make you feel that the only one that is really focused on is the fact that you're put in this physical realm and you have to get into not so like modest outfit and dance around? And I saw a guy come by with his camera, like a videotaping up close to their butts and stuff. I'm like, come on. Like, and I was like, how does that make you feel? And they're like, well, I mean, it is like they said like that's how the industry is. And I'm like, no, it's not. I'm like, that's not how it is. Like, you don't have to pigeonhole yourself into that. Like, you're so much more than that. Like, never forget it. And I told them, I was like, if you ever feel down or you don't feel like you're worthy, like, always message me and let me know. And so we hugged it out, and they messaged me saying thank you so much, and they don't think they're ever going to do anything like that again, and they're going to value themselves more. Like, that's a tough conversation, but like, I left the Arnold being like, of everything that happened, all the amazing people that came up to me, and like, and the meet and greets and everything like that, like, but like leaving there, like knowing that they felt loved, like they had a purpose, and now they hold themselves to a higher standard as well. It's like,
that's powerful. That's amazing.
that's powerful. So, I mean, it's just cool, guys.
Yeah, like the way that I see it is like, if that's what they want to do, that's cool, that's fine. Like, it'd be okay if everyone kind of thought the way that we did, like they're just doing their job. Like, you're not going to look at them in a disrespectful way, but there's just so many men out there who don't think that way, and they're just so disrespectful. And like, that's what hurts the most. It's like, it's not what they're doing, because it's their body, they look amazing. I'm like, do you, girl? But it's just the way that other people perceive it because they're so ignorant. That's what's sad.
Well, it's philosophy. It's understanding that, like, we can both agree with this. It's seeing not them as a means to an end, but an end in themselves. Yeah. That's it. So they're not seeing them as, I'm not going to say their names, but let's say that their names were Shelby and Rebecca. They're not seeing them as Shelby and Rebecca, the people with a great personality. They're seeing them as literally a piece of meat. Like, it sucks. Like, or a sexual figure, or in lust. And that like makes me sick to my stomach, because I never want any girl to be looked at in that way. Same thing with guys.
For that matter, yeah. And that's the thing with the fitness industry, and that's why I'm like, you've taught me so much, and you've brought so many amazing people to my life, but we gotta break up. We gotta cut it.
Yeah, it's so true.
Oh gosh, it's so physical, and I'm like, fitness is so much more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, fitness really does so much for your life and teaches you so much about yourself and helps you grow. But it just sucks that the industry itself, like when it comes to like, supplements and competitions and gear and all of that, it really
surface level. Yeah. So I see we both have a huge opportunity though. So like, I don't ever want to cut ties with the industry in the sense of there's so many people that need us. Yeah. I want to stay in there, but instead of giving people what they want, we give them both. We give them what they need as well. And so we start to build a tribe of people that can understand the perspective of what your physical attributes can do and how they can reflect how healthy you are, but then understanding the role that your physical is probably 20%. And then you have other buckets that you need to fill as well if you want to live a truly fulfilled life. So I hope you guys are enjoying this interview, because this is really good. This is really good. So I want to lead into, is there anything that you want to talk about? Anything that's on your mind? Anything that comes to mind? Talking about like just women and culture, or just things that, I mean, you've just learned over the past year. If you had to give advice to your 19-year-old self as a 22-year-old now, because I know I have a lot of young people listening, what would you say to her? Like, what would be just a few sentences of advice?
Meditate.
Well, that's okay. So let's go there just for a second. So what does your meditation look like? If you were to have somebody start meditating, what would it look like?
Well, I'm not like a teacher by any means. I'm still trying to figure things out myself, but I just sit down, I focus on my breath, I try to calm down my thoughts, and I like to focus on God. So that's a touchy subject because God for everyone is completely a different thing, and that's
Yep.
fine. But me, God is just everything. You know, it's nature, it's breath, it's everything that surrounds us because that's what we're created by. So I just try to focus on that. I just try to focus on the stillness that surrounds me. And when you tap into that stillness, which is super extremely hard to do, and it's something that I've like only recently been able to find, it's the most beautiful thing. You literally come to this place of just like everything just stops and there's nothing. And it's like the most like calming and relaxing thing in the world. And just knowing that you always have that available to you and within you is so powerful because no matter what's going around you, you're always going to be able to be in control of what's happening within you. So that's why I would say meditate, because the only thing that we're in control of is what's within us. So, you know, if my 19-year-old self was put in any situation, she'd be in control of it because she's in control of what's happening within her. So as long as she's in control of that, then she's good for the rest of her life. So
I love
that's
that. That's really
what I would
cool.
say.
So yeah, I'm super fascinated of silence. Like we live in a noisy world to where when it's really quiet, we like when somebody walks into a room, they automatically want to turn the TV on or put music on. I'm
Mm-hmm.
the opposite. I drive in silence. I cook in silence. I love just stillness
In
and
silence
quiet.
or with your thoughts.
Well, in both, like
Yeah.
I like to, because when I'm quiet and still in the sense of like there's nothing else going, I can really be in my own thoughts. There isn't
Mm-hmm.
anything coming in or coming out. It's just really in tune with thinking. And the moment I started doing that and reflecting more, everything changed. Everything
Mm-hmm.
changed for me. So I challenge everybody to like 5 to 10 minutes a day, just sit in silence. Like
Yeah, just
sit in
work your way up
silence.
from there. It's so
Mm-hmm.
powerful because
Yep.
the more that you're able to do that, the more that you're able to find that silence throughout the day. And having that silence means that you're listening to yourself. You're in tune with yourself. So if you're feeling sad, you can catch yourself in those feelings and be like, I choose to feel happy. If you're
Yeah.
having negative thoughts, you can change those thoughts. You know, it's so powerful to be able to control what's happening within you because that's what controls what you see on the outside. So it's powerful.
It's very powerful. Okay, so it's going to lead into our last question. So I ask everybody the same question. So be prepared. I got to set the stage first.
Okay.
So today is Valentina's funeral. So I know that sounds very sad, but there are thousands upon thousands of people there to mourn the loss, but also celebrate your life. And there is one person on stage about to give your eulogy. You have no idea whether you've known them your whole life. You might have met them 5 times, or while you were traveling, you happened to stumble upon their market and you bought some fruit or something from their stand. You have no clue. But due to the kind of person that you are and the life that you've lived, what would that person say about Valentina?
Let's see. I would just think that that person would say that I'm a really genuine, vibrant person. If anything, that's how I like to see myself and what I hear that I'm like. People say that I have really good energy and that I'm very just bright. Yeah.
I could definitely see that. I've been trying to think of a moment where I left talking to you not feeling better than whenever I came up to
Oh,
you.
that's good to
So
hear.
that, yeah, that's a quality that I admire so much, because that's how you truly can make change, is because your door's always open.
Yes,
Like I
definitely.
challenge, like
For
I see
anyone out
people.
there, not just Zach. If you're watching this, my door's always open for you.
Yeah, there you go. Go blow her up, guys. No, but seriously, like if once you guys hear this podcast, like go show her some love, because it's a powerful thing. She's one of the most giving and genuine individuals I've ever met, and I admire the hell out of the fact that like no matter where I am at in my life, and whenever we talk, I always end with a smile on my face. And that's one thing I want to challenge all of you guys to do more, is be more inviting for people, in the sense of like, go about your day thinking, am I approachable right now? If somebody was in need, would they ask me? would they feel like they were bothering me?
Yeah.
And the moment you can kind of be more of an inviting person, walk around with a smile on your face, is the moment you're going to be able to impact more people, because then they will feel comfortable to engage with you, and then you can show them how special you are. And I believe that's the same with anything we do. That's with your content on social media. That's with everything. That's being vulnerable. Being approachable is being vulnerable, and knowing that you're not above anybody else. We're all the same, but we can all help each other. And yeah, like I just want to say thank you so much, Val. Yeah, this
Thank
is
you. I enjoyed this conversation. This is awesome. I was a
this
little
is
bit nervous,
good.
like my third podcast interview, so I'm like, oh gosh.
No, you
Where's
crushed it.
Thank
You
you.
crushed it. This was good. This is exactly what I thought it would be, because we just talk about deeper meaning, about a life of purpose. And I believe that we attract a similar person, that it 100%. And I believe that as our lives go on, we're going to end up being like, wow, like we're going to constantly be giving each other high fives. And
I think so
I'm,
too.
I'm super
Yeah.
excited. So I'm speaking to everybody listening and myself. I want to say thank you so much for coming on, Val. This is amazing, and I truly admire you as a person. And just thank you so much.
Thank you for having me and all your kind words and just having this super awesome conversation. This kind of connection and kind of talks are the kind of things that, make this life so exciting and so, I don't know, so worth it. Definitely.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you guys so much for listening. Yet another episode. And just know that we're going to continue to bring on amazing people like Val, and we're going to continue to try and help you realize that you're not alone. And this life is a journey, and this life is a powerful one. And you have every opportunity to live an impactful life that can change. You can change the world. You literally can. So thank you guys for listening. God bless. And we'll see you guys in the next interview.